All right, so welcome everyone to the third annual Writers Out Loud reading, which, as all of you know, is for the Rogers Memorial Essay Workshop plan. And it's always exciting to close out our year in this way. I'm Carla, but I always forget to say that, so I will remember to say that. But you know, I'm Carla. So we do prompts pretty much every week, and one that we did recently was called Leap of Faith. And sometimes I scribble down responses to the prompt too, and so I did for this particular one, Leap of Faith. And I called to mind basically how this group got started, which was Penny Wright, who is the program director of the library. She and I sat down in an office. We had known each other previously, and we were tossing around ideas. I wanted to teach some sort of writing workshop, and we were batting around ideas as to what might fit my skills and the library's needs. And so, and this is the conversation that ensued and that I wrote down. How about poetry? I asked. I studied poetry in college, had poems published in our college's literary journal, and had made out with the second best poet on campus. She said, "There's already a poetry group." And she paused and tilted her head and said, "How about personal essay?" I thought. The editor I'd mentored with in New York had launched a best-selling memoirs, and I had read the advanced reading copies. I had worked with young fiction writers and had edited precisely one nonfiction book, a true life drama of a fishing boat lost at sea. Did any of that count? I doubted it. I looked Penny square in the eye. "Okay," I said, "let's do it." And that is really how this whole 10 years began. I'm always of the belief that librarians have sort of special powers and special wisdom, and I think it was just really prescient of her to say, let's try personal essay. And even though literally I had zero skills in the genre, I jumped into it and kind of faked it until I made it, and I've had a great time doing that. And we've been a really productive group. I was trying to sort of count in my head. I think there have been 4 or 5 books written over the course of the 9 or 10 years, like complete memoirs. We've also helped launch a columnist, Joanna Payton, who's writing for the Southampton Press, and written and published many hundreds of essays. But I think most importantly, we've created a community of writers who care about writing, support one another, and get up almost every day to write simply because they enjoy it and it's meaningful. So today, our roster of readers is it's a celebration of things that we miss and also things we look forward to. And kicking us off today with an ode to spring, if it ever gets here, is Joanna Payton.
This is an essay that was, in its shorter form, was published in Edible East End a few years ago. And I'm kind of midway through, and I'm going to try and expand it to 750 words for my column in the Southampton Press. So this is middle of where I want it to be. But it's a little bit, you have to put your blinders on a little bit because it has some allusions to adultery and all kinds of other things. So I know it's an adult group, so I know you can handle it. It's in the form of a letter. It's kind of a Dear John letter, but it's to Patrick. Dear Patrick, I have a confession to make. I've been unfaithful. I shopped around. I went with Tom Halsey, indulged with Bob Corwith, and my car was spotted over at Hank's place. I even went as far as Richie King's in North Sea. I bought their favors and their flavors. I bought what they were selling. All right, I'll say it. I admit to my sins. I went to other farm stands. I succumbed to their charms. I was seduced by their freshness and variety, especially Dot Halsey's baby orange beets, sweet as candy. I had goat cheese from Catapano Goat Farm, or some of Art Ludlow's Atlantic Mist, or Meacock Sunrise cheese, topped off with slices of ripe avocado, and a suggestion of just picked arugula for that mustardy kick. Halsey's adolescent green beans are picked so young, they are positively obscene. They're babies, not even fully grown beans. There ought to be a law. But what a great salad they make with cherry tomatoes and my own vinaigrette, or just blanched quickly with pats of melting butter oozing through the hot beans. I'm in love with Dot's 4 varieties of radishes and the baby Japanese eggplant, the kind that's perfect for grilling or stuffing, or my personal favorite, Decadence itself, eggplant cut into thin French fry shapes, shaken in a brown paper bag with flour to coat them, then deep fried to golden brown perfection. Salt and pepper to taste. The sensuous pleasure when you crunch into a hot eggplant French fry, the crispy, crusty outer shell, the warm, soft interior that feels like sex melting in your mouth. Patrick, you are the master of the ripe strawberries, plump blueberries, sweet corn and slicing tomatoes. Although I do lust after Mrs. Halsey's saladette variety from time to time, just for variety's sake. Of course, Hank's enormous you-pick blackberries and raspberries have my undivided attention in August. I eat as many as I pick, coming away with stained hands and shirt. I make jams and tarts, fools, crisps, and crumbles with the fruit and freeze some for a cold, harsh, wintry day when we have a need for some summer love. Your corn is the best, and I've sampled them all. I freeze the kernels off the cob in Ziploc bags and use them for stews, and make a delicious creamy corn chowder with bacon for nights by the fire. Patrick, when you weren't there the other day, your fans were restless and worried and created quite a brouhaha, peppering the poor farmer with questions. Is he all right? What happened to him? Where's Patrick? Is he sick? I, who am intimately acquainted with you, knew you were either playing golf or had a wedding to photograph, so I wasn't worried. But your absence was duly noted. You were missed. Patrick, I confess, I've been unfaithful, but I'll always find time for you. I may be a little unreliable and sometimes fickle with my love, but you were my first and best love, and there will always be a place for you in my heart. Just wait till you start selling the hard, phallic squash in those tempting colors and erotic shapes and offer them to me. I'll come back to you. Don't you worry, Patrick. I'll come back, salivatingly yours.
Next,
Yes.
Mary O'Brien.
Okay, my piece is called Yoga Beginner. I have just taken up yoga and I'm still at the point where it's all a big mystery to me. So I thought I'd have some fun talking about it. I rush into the community room of the Hampton Bays Library moments before yoga begins. I lay my new, still stiff yoga mat in between 2 80-year-old women. Gentle music gradually penetrates my brain. Sarah's even voice instructs us. Sit cross-legged at the front of your mat. Inhale, press your hips down. Imagine your head reaching to the ceiling. Roll your shoulders over your chest. Relax your face. Let the tensions of the morning drift away. Yeah, like that person I had to follow all the way here. He was terrified of a 1/4 inch of snow, 20 miles an hour. Yes, I was behind him the whole way into the parking lot. He made me so late I had to run in. Breathe deeply through the nose into the belly. I can't believe it. Right in front of my mat, a big gulp-sized stain of brownish yuck spilled on the carpet. I can't look. I'll be sick. Lie on your back. Release any thoughts or distractions. Let your mind focus on the breath. This is so relaxing. Let your eyes look to the ceiling. Oh my God! Do they ever clean that airtake vent? It's crusted with dust. There's a huge cloud hanging. It's right over me. If it falls, it'll fall onto my mat. Dust is shifting down. I can't breathe in here. Bring your legs to your hips. Feet flat, knees bent. Slide your fingers. Inhale. Breathe and hold. Breathe. Nice. Inhale. Exhale. Oh no, I think I inhaled. I'll exhale. I can't. I used up the air. I'll hold my breath and catch up. Inhale, exhale, inhale. Oh, this is so hard. Lower your body, roll over. Move onto your hands and knees into table. Table? At least this one is easy. I just plop here. As long as I don't roll my knee onto that sensitive area. It feels like I have gland. That's the spot. Oh no, everyone else is doing something. Let's ease into downward facing dog. On all fours, bring your hands slightly forward. Lift your hips into an upside down V. Oh, I'm shaking. Why am I so weak? Oh, darn, old Biddy to my right is on her fingertips with her butt in the air. Oh, maybe it's the fuchsia yoga pants holding her. I'll ask her where she got them. Bend the knees, move back into table, slowly arch your back into cat pose. This feels great. I can feel the tension leaving. I loosen each back muscle as I arch up. I'm the world's best cat, the most sinuous and sleek. Glossy coat, tiger yellow eyes, easing my muscles after a morning hunt. Stand into mountain pose. Feel your feet grounded into the mat. So what? We just stand here? Feel your core strength. Align yourself. Step your foot back into warrior. Oh, I'm a bit off balance and reposition. Now my feet are in the right place and my weight floats over them comfortably. I feel my powerful legs. Ah, this is how it should be. I get it. I let myself sink further into the pose. Strong, confident, the fearless maiden, empowered to face any challenge. Slide your hand down your leg as you stretch your right arm overhead. The maiden raises her right arm and looks up at the forest through the treetops. Turn to the side of your mat. Drop your arms to the floor. I drop my head and relax into the pose. This feels great. I feel great. Oh, this is about me. Yoga's about me. Wow, how wonderful. I have an hour of nothing to do except think about me. My body, my stretching, my relaxation, my hamstrings that need to be lengthened. Yes, me. Lower yourself into cat pose. Feel your lower back and arms stretch. I feel my back muscles loosen and relax. Feel the mild stretch. Oh yes, I'm loose and flexible. My spine unlocks one notch at a time. My shoulders fall, and I feel the kink in my neck let go. Serenity washes over me. I will definitely be back here next week. Join me in the Om. The vibrations charm my body. Namaste. Namaste, Sarah. Namaste, old biddies. Now, if I can just remember the stuff. Post office.
This is a shortened piece from my book, Bridgewalker, which we published this year. and it's called Endangered Species. At the east end of Ponquag Beach, an orange plastic fence marks the piping plover's property. These sparrow-sized birds, the color of dry sand, have the best real estate in town. We are taking such good care of them here on the East Coast that they are now threatened, not endangered. I consider myself an endangered species. I am a letter writer. After lists mailed to Santa Claus, missives to pen pals, and thank you notes, I became a serious letter writer when I was a freshman in college at Philadelphia in 1963. In 1963, long-distance phone calls were saved for special occasions and emergencies. Every day before lunch, I'd check my mail slot, hoping to find letters from home. My high school boyfriend and I wrote to each other several times a week. Checks from my father would arrive with a short note, "Make it last," and signed with his signature smiley face, wearing glasses. After college graduation, I kept in touch with friends through letters. Maryland resident Sue Codd and I wrote to each other for years. Through our letters, we knew the nitty-gritty details of each other's lives. Our children were close in age, and we measured their progress, the things we loved about them, what drove us crazy. There was no reading between the lines when it came to the disappointment in our lives. Sue died in 2003. At a reception following her funeral, I could identify her friends from her vivid descriptions so long ago. I looked at them with knowing eyes. I knew their secrets. Sue and I thought someday we would publish our letters, a stack of them wrapped with ribbon, addressed in her tiny, perfect penmanship, sits on a shelf in my office. I still haven't untied them. In the 1980s, my parents decided to sell their big house. One day I walked into the kitchen and found my mother crying, surrounded by packing crates. "Mom, I thought you were happy about this move." "I am, but I'm throwing away my daughter's memories." Glancing around, I noticed yearbooks, warped record albums, and pink prom dresses that propped up budding breasts. Peering into a carton, I caught my breath. I stroked the vast Regent shoebox I knew was filled with letters from my first love. I couldn't take them with me when I got married. I couldn't throw them away, so I left them in my mother's attic. Years later, when I was angry or hurt by my children, they got the letter. My son used to read them to his roommates. They particularly liked the ones about good manners. One of the best things about my daughter going away to college was that we wrote to each other. Later in life, both my children have gifted me with the sweetest appreciative notes. My husband, Terry, has the uncanny knack of selecting the best Hallmark cards that say exactly what I want to hear from him. He doesn't write letters, but he does leave Post-it notes for me on mirrors, the stairs, and kitchen cabinets. For our anniversary, I composed a love letter recapping each year. He saved them all. Personalized stationery, particularly the correspondence note cards, are a staple on my desk. A friend once told me I could fit more in a postcard than most people do in a letter. I have experimented with fountain pens, elegant ones, not the functional kinds we were required to use in elementary school. Sealing waxes were a passing phase, but I did choose commemorative stamps, like accessories, with care. Katharine Hepburn and Elvis have graced my envelopes, along with Archie and Veronica. Technology can't replace the intimacy of snail mail. Someone's fingers have held the pen, touched the paper, and perhaps licked the envelope. My mother wasn't a letter writer, but I have kept lists I found in her cookbook just to have that visceral part of her. The size and slant of the letters, the generous spacing of her words, the light pressure of her pen are uniquely hers. The modern forms of communication are great. However, they can't replace that feeling of opening your mailbox and in the middle of bills, junk mails, and circulars, finding an envelope hand-addressed to you. You smile because you recognize the handwriting. You know who it's from.
Next is Beth Clark.
Denise, I think this is the second chapter. This is called Obsolescence. Oh dear, what happened? There's ink all over the tissue in the bottom of my purse. The splotches look like they're from another era. Immediately familiar, they are black blob Rorschachs on what was a once clean white Kleenex. Where did they come from? I fish around and extract from the black hole of my overstuffed pocketbook a ballpoint pen. Actually, a refill, separated from its holder and broken in two. The purse holds an inventory of my everyday existence. Occasionally, like now, it produces surprises. The broken pen, a candy half unwrapped, stiffly stale and untouched, a note with the phone number of a sander who I hoped would renew my pockmarked floors. How long's it been there? I've never called. There's a bottle of pills for vertigo, just in case. Ah, here, rattling in the bottom, are enough quarters for the occasional parking meter that still takes them. But it's the blobs of ink that arrest my attention. I'm taken back to an earlier time. Ink on tissues harkens to a past, long gone, to a pen, unused for years. I drift away to my parents' New York apartment, a schoolgirl. I can picture my blue Esterbrook fountain pen in the front center of the center drawer of my desk. I must have gotten it when I was about 10. In my new school, we were allowed pencils only. A fountain pen was for the more grown-up me. My desk had once been my father's when he was a bachelor, and when I came along, it was mine for all of my youth. I always knew where my pen was, and I returned it there, front row and center, nestled in its plain white box, a place of honor. It wrote in my diaries. It penned yawningly lengthy letters to my parents from camp about food and friends. It wrote MASH notes in my high school yearbook that I still have. Years later, in my own homes, it wrote love letters, invitations, lists of wedding gifts, thank you notes. But that pen was in a desk, in another house, in another life. Could it still be there? I run upstairs to look into the desk in the corner of my bedroom. Not the desk of my youth. This desk is one I inherited from my mother. I've had it since she died in 1981. I notice its elegant shape, a shelf of small nooks built in along the back and one side. I run my hand over its golden streaked brown wood and finger one of the horizontal metal pulls on each drawer. I reach for the button on the base of the matching lamp that has, to my knowledge, always graced the desktop. I think back, trying to remember how long ago it was that I stopped buying ink. No longer lifting the chrome lever on the shaft, dipping the nib into the bottle, releasing the lever and slurping up some necessary amount of ink into the cylinder to be able to write. I pull the center drawer out and glance down. No, it's not there. It's not in its place. I hold my breath and reach for the trove. This is another drawer special to me, my mother's drawer of odds and ends. I've left it mostly undisturbed, a 35-year-old memento mori, though occasionally I add to it. In the drawer are most expectable things: boxes of staples, gummed labels with red borders, paper circle reinforcers, and a 3-hole punch I no longer use. Then there are a few precious things: a small magnifying glass in a real leather case, book plates from the Antioch Book Plate Company in Yellow Springs, Ohio. You know, the gilt-edged square of paper you proudly stuck on the first page of your new book and wrote your name on it in fancy script to claim the book as yours. In a soft suede pouch, there are 2 pocket-sized penknives, one with a mother-of-pearl handle. What did my mother do with a penknife? A few items are odd. Copper cut tacks for upholstery, On another box item, I read, gummed cloth mending tape. It's smooth. Impulsively, I lick the inside. Now it's sticky. Still, imagine. There are a few things I've added to my mother's odds and ends. And not quite, sorry. There are a few things that I've added to my mother's odds and ends. Not quite wanting to toss them. An empty Rolodex, a small padlock and keys, an eyeglass screwdriver set, a metal drawing compass with its tiny sharpened pencil still attached. Sneezing a whiff of dust, my fingers probe further along the side of the drawer. Ironically, under a pack of rollerball ballpoint refills, black ink, there is the remembered oblong box. It has no lid. Casually lying there is my blue Esterbrook pen. I swing open the handy magnifying glass to check the minuscule letters on the handle. No ordinary Waterman for me. Yes, it says Esterbrook. I unscrew the top and reach for a scrap of paper sticking out from the worn blotter on the desk top. No, it doesn't write, but it can. It can, I'm sure. I rub my fingers around its familiar shape and size. I'm surprised at the wave of nostalgia, my sense of allowing to slip away that familiar task of filling my companionable pen, choosing instead the serviceable, interchangeable ballpoints that roll around in drawers or stand at attention in mugs, and even give up the ghost, bleeding into my pocketbook. I tuck the Esterbrook back in its box, not knowing when I will look for it again.
Next is Judy Sprague.
Continuum. The walnut table in our front hall is a vessel. It carries within its surface and in the grooves of well-turned legs a weight of time and memory. The darkened veins whisper a lost language of family. The table came from a tree that my great-grandfather cut on the Kelly, Pennsylvania farm where his children were born. In a faded photograph, he shows a somber presence. He glances sideways at his sons, lanky-limbed boys whose faces gleam in the sun. His hands are big, like my mother's. The oldest son moved his wife and daughters twice, putting the farm behind him. The table traveled with them through wars and a depression. It was an anchor and a remembrance, binding sons and daughters, past and future. On a summer day, I watched my mother work. Strong, blue-veined hands stripped the old surface of the table away, revealing new layers. Her fingers rubbed deep and hard. Nearby, a garden hose cools grandchildren who are reaching their arms upward, grabbing fistfuls of luminous cloud-shaped sky. Now, in the early morning light, I touch the table carefully and with deliberate slowness. Two brides, a century apart, gaze out at me from their framed stillness. 100 years of hands and laughter and gentle whispers are caught on the burnished surface. I lift my eyes and listen.
Next is Anne Shelley.
This is called uplifting. Marie, my good friend and neighbor, said, "Maybe you're jealous." What a stupid concept. I'm not the least bit jealous of women who are ruining their feet and throwing their spines out of whack. Marie, I corrected, I've worked very hard to overcome my jealous feelings. And I've succeeded. Jealousy is a useless emotion. It doesn't accomplish anything. And this had nothing to do with it. Well, you do seem very involved with this subject, Marie said. I was getting irritated, so I waited until I could speak calmly. Didn't we go through women's liberation? And didn't we think that all the changes were permanent? Remember when our sisters in the subway carried briefcases and wore running shoes? That was real power. We made the statement that our work was important, likely more important than the work of the male tribe who shared our subway car. We were defiant, proud. Okay, Marie said, we slipped a little. But after all, women do like to look feminine. I knew that Marie was misguided. And there was no point in arguing, so I said goodbye and walked home. An easy trip, because I was wearing my favorite Nikes. Back home, I reached for the Sunday New York Times, and predictably, there they were. The advertisements for shoes. The black, shiny pair with rhinestones at the instep, with about 4 1/4-inch heels. The fake reptile sandals, each with 2 sets of straps, one wound around the instep and the other around the ankle. The heels were over 5 inches. Then the gold thongs that circled to just below the knee. So provocative. And I'm estimating 4 3/5 heels. And the red numbers with an enormous platform to support the 5-inch heel. Even though the aforementioned shoes would probably start wrecking my body if I wore them more than an hour, I would like to indulge once in a while. But that's the other thing. I could tolerate pain, but I probably would lose my balance and topple over whenever it happened. Aging wrecks one's ability to walk on stilts. At a certain age, I discovered that anything over 3 1/2 inches was difficult to navigate. Then it was 3 1/4, then 2 1/4. Now I can't go beyond 1 2/3 inches. There was an incident. We had plans to go out with friends for a festive evening, beginning with dinner at a lovely restaurant. I searched through my closet and found the black shoes with 1 1/2-inch heels. They looked nice and made a seductive tapping noise when I walked across the floor. Nothing fancy, but they did give me a bit of height and allowed my butt to appear more perky. I wore a dress for the first time in months. It was a simple black dress, trimmed with satin. The outfit was completed by bright turquoise earrings and a bracelet of matching shine. I modeled all this for Marie, who said, "You look great. You don't have to be jealous of anyone." Marie is a fine friend, except for her fixed idea about my envy. Not jealous, I muttered. We arrived at the restaurant. and climbed the wooden stairs to the entrance. I ascended sturdily and confidently, but the two planks trapped my heel in the small space between them. I pulled hard and the shoe was released. However, the heel stayed behind. Now I was wearing one shoe with a 1.5 heel, and the other foot was resting on the floor. There was nothing to do except to pretend that I had a serious limp, and thus made my somewhat less than grand entrance into the restaurant. So much for chic. The following day, I went grocery shopping in the local market. Is there nowhere to hide? A beautiful young woman was gathering lettuce and carrots next to me in the produce section. I judged her silver shoes to have 4 2-inch heels. She was very tall to begin with, and with the heels she must have totaled about 6'11". She was a formidable and intimidating giantess who was unbelievably graceful. I was furious. Such a violation of what you're supposed to look like when you're grocery shopping. I controlled my violent impulses and tried to avoid her. However, when I reached the checkout, she was directly behind me. I channeled my anger by descending into slow motion. I stacked my groceries into unnecessary categories. At the very least, I could keep her standing and towering. I sneaked a look, wanting to witness her impatience and frustration. She smiled, said a friendly hello, and inquired about the fabric softener that I was purchasing. We chatted about the lettuce and the laundry detergents. Hypocritically, I forced myself to say something complimentary about her shoes. She responded by saying that she had the same pair in black and gold, and she told me where I could purchase them. Clueless. But she had so many good qualities. In addition to being friendly and warm, she was gorgeous, well-spoken, glamorous, gracious, sexy, self-confident, charming, tall, and young.
Our final reader is Hillary
Well, Anne, I don't know if I can follow that. I'm now wondering how I can make this as funny. Maui Magic. Each year, my husband, Eric, and I visit Maui. We always stay in Paia, a busy town which attracts all kinds of people. Young hippies abound, their tan, tattooed bodies, Rastafarian wild hair, and faded, skimpy clothing, fashion and image of carefree youth. Then there are the beautiful, athletic kiteboarders and surfers from around the world. They're everywhere, half-dressed in bathing suits, reminding me that I now belong to the older, cover-up crowd. My faded Indian print tunic serves me well for that purpose, in town and at the beach. I've never experienced love for my body. I was 13 in the late 1960s when Twiggy, the super skinny fashion model, set the bar for female perfection. My blooming, large bone heftiness was already a target of self-loathing. I yo-yo dieted through college and then into child rearing, going from almost anorexic to very obese. I finally lost 100 pounds in my mid-40s. It took a year. I was strong and lean, but I never grew to love my body. There was just too much history to release with those pounds. On Maui, though, there's some kind of magic that inspires me to relax with this aging physique. It touches me on every visit. All it takes is a day at Baby Beach. Well, maybe a few days. Baby Beach is a short walk down from where we stay. It harbors a cove at one end of a larger beach park. Bordered by a curved reef, the area makes a perfect protected swimming hole for any age. Toddlers go alone into the water and splash and play. Old folks do too. And water-timid tourists can float in shallow, calm water. My favorite activity is people watching. There's always plenty to observe. One very pregnant woman wearing only a bikini bottom follows her toddler around the beach. Everything about her is firm, from top to bottom. Her swollen belly is tan and glistens in the sun. Ladies in bikinis my age and older walk the water's edge. Cellulite, sagging breasts, and big hats. I find myself inspired by their unself-consciousness. I decide to get a bikini. Maui Girl is a shop not far from the beach on the main street. Sports Illustrated features some of their suits on their famous bathing suit edition. Why not go for the gold? I stepped inside to racks of bikini bottoms and tops, all separate mix and match colors and sizes. Two women in their 20s welcome me with wide smiles. How can we help you, one asks. If only they knew, I muse. They don't usher me to the one-piece section in the corner as I expected, but instead pull out a tape measure for my hips and bust. Oh, I wish my hips were slender like yours, the taller, more full-figured one of the two declares. I wish I was 20, I think. Trying the top and bottom, I slip out of the dressing room to face the three-way mirror. Both encourage me with compliments. That looks fantastic. What a perfect top for you. And before long, I'm turning like a model, blind to my flaws. Emboldened, I buy a dark brown bikini with a support bra top. Eric, who has always been more supportive of my body than I, was very happy about my purchase. Do other guys see their wives age? Or am I just really lucky? At any rate, I resist the urge to return my new suit. The next morning at Baby Beach, my new bikini hides under the old security cover-up. After a while, a grandmother in a bikini walks by. She looks like me, I observe, and she isn't inhibited. Okay, it's now or never. I stand and remove the cover-up. I relax my stomach and draw my shoulders back. My worries soon dissolve in the warm tropical water. Bikini Beach days follow. On our last day, I suggest we stop at the nude beach nearby. On the way home, Eric is surprised, but agrees enthusiastically. We walk the 5 minutes to the not-so-secluded spot. I hesitate, looking to see who is there, as if they might actually know me. A few of the young hippies arrive and spread a blanket. They run into the ocean. An older man is leaving, fully clothed. A couple about our age settles further down. He has a gray shoulder-length hair and a goatee. Her auburn hair and very white skin go together. We strip. I crouch slightly as we move a few feet to the water. It feels wonderful. My loose skin and aging breasts, headed south on land, are now buoyant. We swim for a few minutes, basking in the lightness. I look around to make sure no one is watching before we emerge. Eric lies down on a towel and I choose my chair. Resisting the urge to put it on, I drape my cover up in a loose C shape below my belly and across my chest. The other couple dry off and stand near the water. She has an average body, in good middle-aged shape, but not a magazine cover candidate. There is a very large fallen tree trunk that is weathered into a beautiful sculptural shape. She climbs up into the high limb and sits, her arms extended backward, supporting her while her legs dangle down. She is completely exposed. This is not an exhibitionist. She simply seems comfortable and free. I slip off the beach cover-up. The sun feels warm and sweet on my round belly. I just want to say on behalf of the group that we are so thankful to you, Carla, for all of your help for so many years, and we're going to miss you so much. she's been an incredible teacher. And you started with many of us new to it all, and we've all grown. Thank you.
Right, that concludes it. Let's have one more round for everybody. Really fantastic reading. I do want to say, this workshop, though I will be traveling west, this workshop will be continuing here in September. So if anybody has questions about that, they can speak to me or the library. And if you want to have sort of like an essay fest today, David Boucher, who's an NPR essayist, is at Cameos tonight in Sag Harbor at 5 o'clock. So you can just go have some cocktails and go right over there, full night of it. But thank you once again.